Hey everyone, it's another Witch Life video. Now today we are going to be talking about the gods. Now, as I've stated before, I follow the Greek Pantheon, so everybody that I talk to you about is going to be Greek gods and goddesses. Now, you may have found another pantheon that you prefer, and that's fine. The problem is I can't teach you something that I don't know anything about. When you talk about witchcraft, there is a lot of room for things to go wrong, okay? You could beseech the wrong god, you could say the wrong word, and things can kind of fuck up. So when you're doing stuff, you really have to be precise in your wording, in your intention, in your invocation, and in your manifestation. So I can't tell you about the Norse gods or the Celtic gods, even though I'm Irish. I know nothing about the Celtic gods. I've always followed the Greek Pantheon because I was taught by somebody that follows the Greek Pantheon. And to be honest, I have to say that Athena has been the most wonderful patron goddess to me. She's been sending me quite a few signals lately. There was the other day, actually I should say last month. Last month, as I was driving at work, I work nights, this owl was just sitting under a light post, just sitting there, just waiting for me. And as soon as I got right up to the owl, that's when the owl flew off. Then about a week ago, twice in one night, an owl flew right over my car. And I'm not talking about, oh, the owl was way up here. No. The owl, literally, I thought this owl was going to slam into my windshield. It was that low over my car. Which is really kind of bizarre, because it's not like this was a dark area. It is a well-lit, traveled road. I was the only one on it at the time. But, this first an owl came this way. Then a few miles away, an owl, it wasn't the same owl, it was a different colored owl, but another owl flew over low over the top of my car again. Now you tell me that that's a coincidence. Two different owls in one night flying really low over my car. Could be a coincidence, just seems very strange. Now, anybody that does know the Greek Pantheon knows that the owl is the symbol of Athena. And things have not been easy for the witch here lately. But, you know, my spirits, and, you know, I'm really worried about things. I have to move, and I'm worried about the money, but my spirits are like, don't worry, we got you. I'm getting messages from Athena, we got you. It's just hard to see it, you know. And as you saw while I was talking to you, I was wiping this. I spilled something on this, because, you know, I love to drink my tea. I actually spilled a sticky drink. And again, this is a good reason why to have books like this in the folders with these. All I had to do is wipe this off and it will dry and it will be fine. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Greek gods and the Greek Pantheon. Now, if you feel a connection with another pantheon, you can go ahead and switch off from this video because we're just going to be talking about the Greek gods and what they do. So this is something you might want to make notes on to keep for yourself. Again, if you're choosing to go with like the Indian or the Celtic or the Norse gods, then there really isn't anything else in this video. I mean, I could tell you about the Norse gods. I do have some Norse gods in here, but I don't really worship them. They're not my pantheon. So, but anybody else, you might want to switch off because it's only gonna, this is only going to go over the gods, what they're associated with, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about each god and what they're associated with, okay? So we're going to start off with Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Now, in Greek mythology, Aphrodite was a bit of a hoe bag. She was married but slept with just about everybody she could. Had plenty of children out of wedlock. Well, I should say, had plenty of children in wedlock, but not with the man she was actually married to. So she's actually the patron goddess of love, marriage, family life, and surprisingly, she's actually the patron goddess of sailors. Which, I don't know, seems a little strange to me, because Athena was supposedly the one who came up with the idea of a navy. Granted, Aphrodite was born from sea foam, so she's a part of the water, but Athena was supposedly the goddess founder of the navy. I don't know. Okay, so some of the things that you would use in rites to Aphrodite would be an apple. See, I can't really see in this light. Marjoram, parsley, pearls. Yes, especially pearls. If you know that famous, I believe it's from Raphael, the very famous painting Venus on a half shell. Venus was the Roman goddess name for Aphrodite, and if you choose to worship in the Roman Pantheon, just remember they took the 12 main Greek gods and converted their names, and then they added more. And when I say they added more, they went insane. I've already told you about Cloacina, the goddess of the sewers. They had Cordia, the goddess of hinges. Hinges. And now you know why the Roman Empire just, like, blew out. Because they were too busy worshiping the goddess of hinges. So, it's so much easier just to stick to the Greek gods. There are really like 12 major gods, and there are minor gods, demigods, such. But the 12 Greek gods pretty much cover everything that all the little minor gods cover as well. So that's Aphrodite. So next we're going to go to Ares. Now Ares is the goddess, the god of war. He and Athena, now Athena was Zeus's firstborn. Ares did have a twin sister, but it was not Athena. Ares was the patron god of Sparta. Now, I'm sure you have all heard of Sparta, especially if you watched the movie 300. Spartans were very austere. They were very fierce. They would leave their sickly-looking babies. If this baby was not healthy and strong-looking, they would leave it on a mountain to die. When they were 12 years old, boys would basically be like kind of like thrown out of the house. They would have to go live like in the woods on a mountain naked for a couple of years and come back. They slept on beds of like nettles, because they thought it would toughen them up. Spartans were very fierce. But the funny thing is, now of course Athens was named for Athena. The funny thing is, in Athens, a city named for female goddess, women did not have rights. They were not allowed to leave their home unless it was to visit someplace else, being chaperoned by a male, or to go to like a funeral or something like that. Otherwise, they were pretty much stuck in their house. They did not have rights to vote. They could not go to see plays. They could not do this. They could not do that. In Sparta, women had a vote. Women had a voice. Women could do the things in Sparta that Athenian women could not, which seems very strange because, you know, Athens was a democracy, yet women had no voice, but they had one in Sparta. But life in Sparta was just very fierce. So Ares was so keeping that in mind, Ares is the patron god of Sparta. So you kind of get an idea of what they were modeling themselves on. He is known as the god of war for a good reason. He was known to be very short-tempered, and he could be very brutal. I mean, total devastation. He's, excuse you, he is associated with, obviously, the color red and bloodstones. Anytime that you are declaring war, I mean like full out war, down and dirty, evil stuff, you beseech Ares. Now also keep in mind that all male deities are considered sun gods, and all female deities are considered moon goddesses. So you have to remember this. Like when you're doing like war water, when you're trying to energize like a tool to use in a spell for Ares, you would leave that out to soak up the midday sun. If you were beseeching, if you had to make like goddess water, or you were consecrating something to one of the goddesses, then you would leave it out all night to soak up a moon. It would have to be a full moon, obviously, but you would leave it out to soak up the energy of the moon. So that is Ares. Now let's talk about my goddess, Athena. Now I know a lot about Athena. Athena, her father tried to kill Athena. There was a prophecy that Zeus's firstborn son would go into the family business of offing the father and taking over. So Zeus, coupled with this titan named Metis. Now Metis was known for her cunning. She was an extremely smart person. Now, she knew about this prophecy, and they say that Zeus tricked her into turning into a fly. Somebody that's that cunning, I have a hard time believing that they were tricked into turning into a fly. Anyway, she turned into a fly and Zeus ate her. Then Zeus started having headaches, and Hephaestus took an axe and split open his head, and Athena popped out, fully grown and fully armored. So Athena is the goddess of not only war, but of peace. She's the goddess of cunning. and of arts and crafts. Surprise in that, the goddess of war likes to knit. There was a story about Arachne. Now you probably recognize that from arachnids, and that's where the name comes from. Arachne was a great weaver, but she was also full of herself. And she said that she was a better weaver than Athena. So this old woman comes, knocks on Arachne's door, and challenges her to a weaving contest. And Arachne wins the contest, but she is so boastful that the old woman turns into Athena, and Athena is angry now. And Athena turns Arachne into a spider so she can continue weaving till the end of time. So that is where you get the term arachnids from. And there are some stories that Athena felt bad about it afterwards, although she didn't go back and correct it, because gods are supposed to be infallible. Now that's one thing about Athena. She may be the goddess of war, but she has the most compassion to humans. Most of the gods use humans as playthings. They, like Zeus would sleep with human women left and right, sometimes without their consent. And most of the gods just didn't care about humans, but Athena did. And there's a very, I've only seen this one. I've never seen anything else like it. And if you Google it, it's this, I think it's called The Sorrowful Athena or something like that. And it's a carving. It's the only one like it. It's from the ancient world. It's the only one like it. Where her head is sort of bowed and resting against her spear, in grief for all the lives that were lost in a battle. And that is why she tried to be the most cunning. She did try to avoid conflict, but when conflict was unavoidable, she was in it to win it with the least amount of lives lost. She understood that there were going to be lives lost, but she tried to mitigate that as much as she could. And that's why she was so clever in battle, and that's why so many generals beseeched her for her brilliance in strategy. So it's one of the reasons why I like her. I like to go about my life with the least amount of struggle, but if there's going to be a fight, I strategize it to make sure to lessen my losses and make it worse for them. So now, obviously the owl is her signal bird. She's got the spider here. What I told you why she's associated with the spider. Now, there is a rumor she's associated with the olive, and that is because she gave, the story is that she gave all the first olive trees to humans. She was very giving towards humans. She tried to share her knowledge and her wisdom with them. And that is why anytime one of my spirits want to go out in the world and they want to work as a guardian and they want to work as a protector or any other type of like special, like a healer, I ask them to pledge in her name that they will be her warrior, because she is the only god that really gave a shit about human beings and the losses that they suffered and the hardships that they went through. So she is the only goddess that really gave a shit. So anytime they go out, I ask them to pledge that they will be a warrior for her. And so far, everybody that has gotten a spirit that has been her warrior, they're pretty happy. Okay, now let's talk about our favorite party animal, Bacchus. Bacchus is the god of wine and merriment. We would probably call him a raver today. Life was always a huge party for him. So let's see, what else does this say here? See, because I have that light right in my eyes, so then when I try to read, it's very hard. So obviously, he's associated with grapes, roses, wine. He is the one to go to if you want. Now, say you have a marriage and you've got the wedding ceremony. You would think, okay, you want to go to Aphrodite. No, Aphrodite is for the couple. If you want, and trust me, I know firsthand how bad weddings can go. You don't even want to know how bad mine went. Let's just say it was on a boat that went nowhere. So at least on the Titanic I would have seen something. So you have the wedding ceremony, and there is just so much shit that can go wrong. Bacchus is your man. Not Aphrodite. Bacchus. That everything will go right. Everybody will show up where they're supposed to be. The caterers will have it right. The cake won't fall on the ground. The DJ is going to show up. The photographer gets beautiful pictures. Bacchus, your man. Any type of celebration that's going to go off. Parties, parades, anything where people are supposed to have a good time. Right there. You put out a glass of, I believe Merlot is his type of drink. Any type of like red wine. Do not put sangria out. No. That's more like for like the Mexican deities than it is for Greek. Okay, they didn't have Greek. They had red wine and they had white wine, but they had more red wine. So Merlot or Sauvignon Blanc, although that's a French wine, but I would go with Merlot. Just put out a fine Merlot for him, do a little blessing. There you go. Demeter. Okay, Demeter and Hestia, we've talked about this. So Demeter is the mother of Persephone. And we've talked about Persephone. Persephone was kidnapped by Hades. So now Zeus was actually Persephone's father. Again, Zeus just screwing everything in a 5-mile radius. So Demeter is the goddess of fertility and the harvest. Okay, so when Persephone was kidnapped by Hades, she was so grieved that everything started dying. The harvest was ruined, and then she wouldn't let anything grow again because she was so wrapped up. So let me see. So what happened was Zeus stepped in and he made a bargain with Hades. Persephone could come up for 6 months on Earth to be with Demeter, and then spend 6 months in Hades with Hades. So, in the spring, when things start to grow anew, that is when Persephone steps foot back on the earth and she's with her mother Demeter. In the fall, when things start to die, the harvest comes to fruition, and the winter starts to come upon us, that is the months that Persephone is down in Hades. So Demeter is, again, fertility and harvest. Now, I would say she's more about hearth and home and harvest, because Hera is known as the mother goddess, and she would be the one that, when you think about fertility with Demeter, we're talking about like crops and plants. When you talk about fertility with humans, you would beseech Hera, because she is the mother goddess. So Demeter is who you're going to if, like, you're like an earthly witch, an herbological witch. Demeter is your girl. And also for the home, because back then your home depended on having, if you couldn't grow crops, then you would leave your home and you would have to move to some place where crops would be able to grow, where you would have a good harvest. So your home really depended on your food source. So again, that goes hand in hand, that your food sources depended on where you live. I mean, where you live depended on your food sources. So again, she would be goddess of the harvest and goddess of the home. Now she's associated with, like, basically everything that grows: corn, peas, oats. Well, hay becomes straw, so you could use straw in a ceremony. So yeah, anything that grows out of the ground that you eat. We're not talking about just like, you know, like morning glories and anything that you eat. Although sunflower is a flower that you can eat, because you can eat the seeds. So sunflowers are associated with her. This is a lower god. This is Eros. He's the son of Aphrodite, and he is who we would call Cupid. So Eros isn't really the god of lasting love. It's the god of, like, new love, kind of. You know, Cupid, the infatuation and everything. If you want lasting love, I don't know, I wouldn't go with Aphrodite or Eros. You know, they're not built for lasting love, but it is what it is. I don't know. Guys, you know, I don't do love spells. I just don't. You know, my philosophy has always been, he's not Mr. Right, he's just Mr. Right now. So, I don't know, I'm kind of like a hard sell on telling you which ones, but supposedly those are the ones. Hades. So we touched on Hades a little bit. He is the brother of Zeus. And if you ever watch the Disney movie Hercules, there is a little bit of truth to that. Hades didn't really like that he was relegated to the underworld. Yeah, he had his own kingdom, but it was kind of dreary. He was jealous of Zeus. But Zeus got where he is because he was the only child that survived. So to go back about that whole business of going into the family business of killing your father. So, oh God, what was his name? Kronos. Kronos was a Titan, and he was the father of the gods, Zeus and Hades and Hera. Yes, that he married his sister. Demeter was also one of those children, so he slept with his sister. Keeping it in the family. So there were 7 of the original. There were 7 siblings. Zeus was the very last to be born. Now, there was a prophecy that Kronos would be overthrown by one of his children. So every time his wife gave birth to a child, Kronos would eat that child. So, I'm sorry, was it 7 or 9? I forgot which one. I think it's either 7 or 9 children. So Zeus was the very last one. And what his mother did was she switched him with a stone. So Kronos ate the stone. And Zeus was brought up, and this is why I don't understand this, why he had just such disregard for humans. He was brought up by humans. His mother came to get him. And Zeus made Kronos throw up all of his other brothers and sisters. Then he imprisoned Kronos. He defeated Kronos and imprisoned him in Tartarus. Now, if you are unfamiliar with Tartarus, it is a place in Hades. You may have heard the story. Prometheus, who gave fire to humans. Well, Zeus was very upset about this. That was something that belonged to the gods. Humans should not have fire. So he chained Prometheus to a rock in Tartarus. And every night, an eagle, well, I should say every day, an eagle would peck out his liver. At night, the liver would grow back, and in the morning, the eagle would come back and do it all again. Every day was Groundhog Liver Day. So, Tartarus does not get great Yelp reviews. Room service is terrible there. And the staff is really rude. So anyway, Hades, because he was one of the Eaten, and Zeus was the golden boy, he gave Hades. So Hades had this really grim place to oversee. The only light spot in this is the Elysian Fields. Elysian Fields are kind of like the bright spot that everybody wanted to get into. It's like the VIP section for heroes. Okay, so now Hades is separated. Hades, the place, not the person, is separated by. I can't. Oh wait. It's really hard to see with that light. Does that say hateful? I think it does. Okay. So it's separated by the river Styx, which means hateful. The Lethe, which is forgetfulness. The Acheon, which is woeful. Phlegethon, I believe it is, which is fiery. And Coctus, which is wailing. So those are the rivers that you're surrounded by. Sounds charming. I can't wait for it to pop up on Airbnb. So the newly dead were ferried across the Styx by Charon. This is where the coins on the eyes or a coin in the mouth came in play, because you would have to pay Charon your fare for being ferried across. If you were buried without a coin, you ended up in one of the rivers. And all the dead drink from the Lethe River, which is the river of forgetfulness, so they do not remember who they were, what they were, so that they would not come back to Earth. Also, Hades had a 3-headed dog named Cerberus, who did try to keep the spirits from escaping. There was this whole big thing with the quest of Hercules that he had to go into the underworld, and he actually tricked Cerberus. I think he put him to sleep or something. I forgot exactly what the 12 tasks of Hercules were, but that's actually where Athena came into play. Athena was fond of Hercules, and she did help him. She was the one who actually gave him the idea about cauterizing the sword to defeat the Hydra. So Hades is, you would beseech Hades in necromantic work, raising the dead, contacting the dead. His voodoo counterpart, I believe, would be Legba. Again, I'm not sure about voodoo. The only one I really know is Papa Legba. Papa Legba controls the gates of the underworld. He allows the souls to come out to speak to you and then locks them back in. Now, Hecate. So Hecate is known as the crone. She was actually a witch. She's known as the witch goddess. Now she's identified with the triple goddesses. Now Selene is the goddess of the moon. Artemis is the goddess of the earth. And Persephone is the goddess of the underworld. Hecate is, she does get a kind of a bad rap, that she's associated with black magic. She was Persephone's attendant, and she is able to conjure up the spirits of the dead at graveyards, at crossroads, and supposedly she was invisible to everybody except the hounds that accompanied her, which is why there was that myth about the baying of the hounds signal a death. Because Hecate, now some things equate her with the Grim Reaper, because you can find her at a crossroads, you can find her at graveyards. So she gets the rap as the Grim Reaper. She's not, though. She's a necromancer in the way that I am a necromancer. Yes, she does usher souls to the other side. Now, why crossroads? I did go over this in another video, in case you didn't see it. Many years ago, especially in Europe, convicted criminals would be hung from gibbets at a crossroads. And crossroads were thought to be extremely haunted by the spirits of all the dead that had been killed there. Criminals, traitors, everybody, they were hung at the crossroads. So that's Hecate. She is the witch goddess, and some would equate her with the Grim Reaper. I myself would do a lot of work with Hecate in my capacity, and when I go and open like portals to help spirits cross through, to banish spirits and to trap them. Those are things that Hecate can do. So in a way, I am a mortal Hecate, but I don't make any claims to that I'm a goddess. Okay, so and now if you were worshipping Hecate, obviously graveyard dirt, keys, keys to the gates, ash and cinder, and that could be, ash talking about like the tree as well, ash. Lilies would be her flower. So that's Hecate. If you're looking into more necromantic magic, you may decide that you want to make Hecate your guide. Okay, so Hephaestus. I personally don't like Hephaestus. Hephaestus did try to rape Athena. Didn't succeed, but he did try to rape Athena. Okay, so Hephaestus, he is the fire god. He was basically the blacksmith of the gods. All of their weaponry was specially forged by Hephaestus of special metals. They were the strongest things. Nothing could destroy those weapons. His furnaces were worked by Cyclops. He was the husband of Aphrodite, but she cheated on him. I wonder why. Hephaestus is mostly associated with tools and with fire. I've never had to call on him. I don't know what you would call on him for. Unless you were a firefighter. I don't know. Can't tell you. I don't know what you would call him for. Because I've never been in that position that I've had to call on him for. Unless you're trying to burn somebody's house down. I don't know. Don't burn somebody's house down. Leave it alone. Don't bother with him. Okay. Hera. Again, we've touched on Hera before. She was Zeus's wife. Also his sister. Now, the peacock is sacred to her, as is the fig, apple, apple, pomegranate, fig. Those are all considered like fertility. The apple and the fig are considered like fertility fruits, and the pomegranate is considered the fruit of the gods. Only gods have it. So sometimes when I'm doing a special beseeching, in my water glass instead I will have pomegranate juice. You can buy pomegranate juice anywhere. It's a little pricey, but you know. So she is she's the protectress of women. She's the one you would beseech in marriage, especially if you're having trouble in a marriage. Childbirth. She frequently punished offending husbands. So if your husband is cheating on you, just sick Hera on him, and there you go. She's very regal. If you ever look at like pack of tarot cards, you may see the Hera in there. She has the crown, like the diadem, the scepter. So she's the queen goddess. So she is the one that you would beseech. For most like women matters, any type of women matters. That's who you would go to. Now Hermes. So let's talk about Hermes because he's a very interesting character. Now, you know the medical sign, the staff with the intertwining snakes and the wings. That is actually the symbol for Hermes. Hermes is considered a doctor. He is the patron of doctors. He was a healer. He could heal. He was also the messenger of the gods. The reason why there are wings on the staff is because Hermes had wings on his sandals because he was the messenger god. And so anytime you have, now he's the god of travelers, roads, music, merchants, and doctors, nurses, medical professionals. So anytime there is some kind of, either you're looking to reconnect with somebody from your past, or you're worried about some kind of medical issue that's going on, you would beseech Hermes. So that's what he is best known for. Hestia, we've already talked about her. This is, some of these are Roman gods, some of these are Egyptian gods in here. Poseidon, the god of the sea. This is another one of Zeus's brothers. He was given the domain of the sea instead of the underworld. Obviously, he is associated with water, shells, sea life. Now, there was actually also kind of a war going on with Poseidon and Athena, because the sea was supposed to be uncrossable, impenetrable. That was his thing. And Athena figured out to make a boat and make a navy so that men could cross from here to there. And Poseidon hated it. And he used to cause tempests and shipwrecks and just try to thwart man trying to cross into his domain. So Athena sat down with Poseidon and said, look, everything above the top of the water is mine. Below it is yours. So they came to that agreement. So technically boats do sit in the water, but because most of it is out of the water, Poseidon is supposed to leave alone. Now we do have the hurricanes, the tsunamis, and stuff like that, so Poseidon still gets his little thing in there. But for the most part, ship crossings are one of the safer things. As long as you don't get on a Carnival cruise ship, you're fine. So, the Poseidon cruise line. So yeah, Poseidon, obviously, god of the sea, god of everything in the sea. Sea life is precious to him. So, I don't know, beach vacations, water park adventures. I don't know. I don't know what you would. I guess if you're like a scuba diver, or he would be a good one to beseech to leave you alone. I don't know. Again, never had to. Okay, finally, we zero in on the last one. Is that the last one? Yeah, the last major one. Zeus. Here we go. Final stretch. Zeus. King of the gods. General asshole, in my opinion. Okay. So, let's cover what he has done. He has slept with women, with and without their consent. Fathered many, many children with people other than his wife. Married his sister, slept with another sister. Imprisoned his father. Tried to kill his firstborn daughter. But he is living large and in charge. So let me see Is there anything, anything that says here that he is in charge of? So he is the god of weather and fertility. Yeah, he was pretty fertile. Yeah. So he is the god of weather and fertility, which makes sense because his symbol is the thunderbolt. So I don't know. Fire, weather. I don't know what you'd use. I've never called on him. I never plan on calling on him. I don't know what you would beseech him for. Maybe for weather spells, or if you're trying to have a kid, you would beseech both him and Hera to try to double up your luck. But again, I've never had to use him. Athena is pretty much my go-to on everything that I need. I do occasionally beseech Fortuna, but other than that, I pretty much stick to one god. And when you find like that one god that's your like patron, you pretty much beseech that god, because then you have like a working relationship with that god. So that is the lesson for today. So I hope you took notes. Even if you didn't, you can come back, but it's a long video, so it's easier to take notes. That is it for the gods. Next week we are going to talk about cleansing your items, energizing your items, and what type of energy for certain items, and how to cleanse certain items. So that is it for this week, and I will see you in next week's Witch Life. Until then, later witches.